The Valorian High Command had watched the outer edges of the Orion sector for 3,000 years. Their sensor stations stretched across dozens of star systems. They tracked every asteroid, every comet, every small burst of radiation. Nothing moved through their space without them knowing about it. They were proud of this fact. They believed they knew everything that happened in their part of the galaxy. So when the strange reading appeared at the edge of their territory, Admiral Korath felt his crest feathers rise with worry. He had commanded the Third Fleet for 40 years. He had seen many things. But he had never seen anything like this. "Check those readings again," he ordered. His voice was tight and controlled. The sensor officer was a young female named Desha. She had worked her station for only 2 years, but she was good at her job. Her claws moved quickly across the console as she ran the scan again. Then she ran it a third time. Her amber eyes grew wider with each result. "The readings are correct, Admiral," she said. "There is a single vessel. It is approximately 4 kilometers long. It came out of some kind of folded space tunnel. We have never seen this technology before." Korath stood up from his command chair. 4 kilometers. That was larger than any ship in his fleet. Larger than any ship in the entire Valorian Navy. He walked to the main viewing screen and stared at the distant point of light. "What species does this ship belong to?" he asked. "Unknown, Admiral. The ship design does not match anything in our records. We have files on over 800 spacefaring species. This ship matches none of them." Desha paused and looked up from her console. "But Admiral, there is something else. The ship is broadcasting a message. It is sending audio and video on all open channels. They want us to see them. Show me." The main screen changed. The distant point of light was replaced by an image of a creature. It stood on 2 legs. It had soft skin without scales or feathers. 2 eyes faced forward from a flat face. A growth of dark hair sat on top of its head. It wore a gray uniform with colored patches on the shoulders. The creature spoke. "This is Captain Samuel Price of the Earth vessel Defiant. We come in peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves. We request dialogue with your leadership." The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the screen. Korath felt something he had not felt in many years. He felt uncertain. "What is this species?" he asked again. "Find out everything we have on them." Desha worked her console. It took only a few moments. "Species name, human. They come from a planet called Earth. It is a small world in an unremarkable star system. We surveyed them 800 cycles ago. And what did we find? They were classified as non-threatening, Admiral. They had not yet developed space travel. They were farmers and builders. They made structures from mud and stone. Their population was approximately 2 billion. Our survey team spent only 3 days studying them before moving on to more interesting targets." Korath turned slowly to look at her. "You were telling me that 800 cycles ago, these creatures were building with mud. And now they have a warship that is bigger than anything we have ever built?" "Yes, Admiral. That is what the records show. That is impossible. No species advances that quickly. It takes thousands of years to go from primitive tools to space travel. It takes thousands more to build ships like this." The Chet did not argue. She could not argue. The evidence was right there on the screen. The impossible had happened, and there was no way to deny it. Korath returned to his command chair. He needed to think. He needed to understand what was happening. A species that should have been primitive farmers had somehow become a spacefaring power. They had built a massive warship. They had developed technology that the Valorians did not recognize. And now they were sitting at the edge of Valorian space, asking to talk. "What are their weapons?" he asked. The tactical officer, a male named Drenvel, answered. "Their ship has multiple weapon systems, Admiral. Energy cannons of unknown design. Missile tubes. Point defense systems. From what we can detect, their weapons are powerful enough to destroy any ship in our fleet." "How many ships would it take to defeat them?" Drenville hesitated. "I am not certain we could defeat them, Admiral. Perhaps if we gathered the entire Third Fleet. Perhaps if we called for reinforcements from other sectors." But even then, I am not sure. Korath absorbed this information. One ship, one single ship from a species they had dismissed as primitive, and it could potentially fight off his entire fleet. The idea was terrifying. It was also fascinating. They said they come in peace, he said finally. Do you believe them? I do not know what to believe, Admiral, Desha answered honestly. But I noticed that they have not fired on us. They have not made any aggressive moves. They are simply waiting. That was true. The human ship was holding position. It was not approaching. It was not targeting any Valorian vessels. It was just sitting there, broadcasting its message, waiting for a response. Korath made his decision. Open a channel. Tell them I am Admiral Korath of the Valorian Third Fleet. Tell them I am willing to meet with their captain to discuss their presence in our space. And if this is a trap, Admiral, Drenvel asked, then we will deal with it. But I do not think it is a trap. If they wanted to attack us, they would have done so already. They have the power. They have the surprise. But instead, they are talking. Korath allowed himself a small smile. I want to know why. I want to know how a species of mud builders became this. And the only way to find out is to talk to them. The message was sent. The response came back quickly. Captain Samuel Price agreed to meet. He suggested a neutral location, a shuttle positioned between the two fleets. Korath agreed. As he prepared to leave the bridge, Korath stopped and looked at the image of the human captain one more time. The creature looked so fragile, so soft. Nothing about its appearance suggested strength or danger. But appearances could be deceiving. This species had proven that in the most dramatic way possible. 800 cycles ago, they were farmers. Today, they had a warship that could challenge empires. What would they be? In another 800 cycles? The thought kept Korath awake as his shuttle flew toward the meeting point. He was about to meet a human for the first time. He suspected that the galaxy would never be the same after this day. He did not know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but he knew that he was afraid. And Korath had not been afraid of anything in a very long time. The shuttle flew on through the darkness of space. Ahead, the human vessel waited. And the future of two civilizations hung in the balance. Captain Samuel Price stood on the bridge of the Defiant and watched the alien fleet through the main viewing screen. 17 ships had moved into a defensive formation between his vessel and the inner systems. Their weapons were powered up. Their shields were active. They were ready for a fight, even if they did not want one. They are scared, he said quietly. His first officer, Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos, stood beside him. She was a tall woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight braid. She had served with Price for 6 years. She knew how he thought, and she trusted his judgment. Can you blame them? She asked. We showed up out of nowhere in a ship bigger than anything they have. I would be scared too, Price nodded. He understood fear. He had felt it many times in his career. Fear was natural. Fear was useful. It kept people alive. But fear could also make people do stupid things. He hoped the aliens would not do anything stupid. How long until the meeting? He asked. 2 hours, Captain. The shuttle is being prepared now. Price turned away from the screen and looked at his bridge crew. They were young, most of them. The oldest was Chief Engineer Kevin Brooks, and he was only 42. This was the first deep space mission for most of them. It was the first contact with alien life for all of them. Listen to me, Price said. I know you are all nervous. I know this is not what any of us expected when we signed up for Space Command. But this is why we are here. This is why humanity built the Defiant. Not to fight wars, but to make friends. To show the galaxy that we are ready to join them. Ensign Daniel Reyes, the communications officer, looked up from his station. He was barely 25 years old, with an eager face and quick hands. What if they do not want to be friends, Captain? What if they see us as a threat? Then we show them that we are not, Price answered. We are strong, but we are not aggressive. We built weapons because we did not know what we would find out here, but weapons do not define us. Our choices define us, and we choose peace. The words seemed to calm the bridge crew. Price hoped he believed them as much as they did. 2 hours later, Price sat across a small table from Admiral Korath inside a Valorian transport shuttle. The space was cramped and uncomfortable for both of them. Korath was nearly 8 feet tall, with blue-gray scales and a crest of colorful feathers on his head. Price was just over 6 feet, soft and pale by comparison. They looked like creatures from entirely different universes, which, in a way, they were. "I will speak plainly," Korath said through a translation device that hung from his neck. "Your presence here is disturbing. Your ship is larger and more powerful than anything in our fleet. You possess technology we do not understand. And according to our records, your species should still be living in mudhouses." Price did not smile. He did not want to show his teeth. D read that many species considered that a threat display. "Your records are outdated," he said. "A lot has changed on Earth since your people visited us. That is obvious. But how? No species advances this quickly. It is not possible. And yet here we are." Korath's feathers shifted color, moving from blue to a deep purple. Price did not know what that meant, but he guessed it was not happiness. "Explain," Korath demanded. "Help me understand how this happened." Price took a deep breath. This was the moment he had prepared for. This was the story that humanity needed the galaxy to hear. 70 years ago, your survey ship visited our planet," he began. "You stayed for 3 days. You scanned our cities, our farms, our people. You took samples and readings, and then you left. You probably thought we did not notice, but we did. You saw our ship? We saw many things. Strange lights in the sky. Objects that moved in ways our aircraft could not move. Most people thought they were seeing things. But some people knew the truth. We were not alone in the universe." Korath listened in silence. His feathers had stopped changing color. They were now a steady gray, which Price guessed meant intense focus. "That knowledge changed everything," Price continued. "Before your visit, we were divided. Nations fought against nations. People cared only about their own small piece of the world. But after we knew that aliens existed, everything became different. Suddenly, we were not just Americans or Chinese or Brazilians. We were humans. We were one species on one small planet in a very large galaxy. Well, so you united. It took time. It was not easy. But yes, we united. We created a world government. We pooled our resources. We started working together instead of against each other. And we started preparing. Preparing for what? Price met the alien's eyes directly. For this moment. For the day when we would meet you again. We did not know if you would be friends or enemies. We did not know if there were other species out there who might be dangerous. So we prepared for everything. You built warships. You built everything. Ships, yes. But also schools and hospitals and research centers. We studied every piece of evidence we could find about your technology. We experimented, failed. We tried again. And slowly, year by year, we figured things out." Korath was quiet for a long moment. Price could hear the hum of the shuttle's engines. He could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. 70 years, Korath finally said. "In 70 years, you went from primitive farmers to this. My people have been spacefaring for 12,000 years. In all that time, we have never seen anything like this. Humans are good at solving problems," Price said simply. "When we have a goal, we work toward it. We do not give up. We do not stop. It is how we survived on our own planet for so long. It is how we built civilizations from nothing. And it is how we built the Defiant." "Your ship could destroy us," Korath said. It was not a question. "Yes, but we will not. We did not come here to fight. We did not come here to conquer. We came here because we were tired of being alone. We came here because we wanted to know what else was out there. We came here because we hoped to find friends." Korath's feathers shifted to a pale blue. Price thought it might be surprise. Or perhaps hope. "You speak of peace," Korath said. "But you carry weapons that could devastate worlds." "So do you," Price pointed out. "Every ship in your fleet has weapons. That does not mean you want to use them. The same is true for us. We carry weapons because we are not fools, but we only use them when we have no other choice. The meeting lasted for another 2 hours. They discussed history and culture. They discussed trade and diplomacy. They discussed the Galactic Concord, the alliance of species that governed this part of the galaxy. Korath explained that humans would need to appear before the Concord Council to be evaluated. Price agreed. He was not worried. Humanity had been preparing for this for 70 years. They were ready to show the galaxy exactly who they were. When the meeting ended, Price returned to the Defiant. Maria was waiting for him on the bridge. "How did it go?" she asked. "Better than I hoped," Price said. "They are scared of us, but they are also curious. That curiosity might be what saves us all." He looked out at the stars and allowed himself a small smile. The first step had been taken. The journey was just beginning. News about the human vessel spread through the Galactic Concord faster than light itself. Within 3 days, representatives from 12 different species had gathered at the central station of Valoria. Prime, they came to discuss the newcomers. They came to decide what should be done about the impossible ship and the impossible species that had built it. The Concord. Chamber was enormous. It was designed to hold beings of every size and shape. Some delegates were small, no larger than a human child. Others were massive, requiring special platforms to support their weight. Some breathed oxygen. Others breathed methane or chlorine and sat inside sealed chambers with their own atmosphere. Despite their differences, they all had one thing in common. They all wanted to know about the humans. Admiral Korath stood at the central podium. He had been chosen to deliver the official report because he had been the first to make contact. The weight of that responsibility pressed down on him like a physical force. "The humans possess technology that matches or exceeds our own," he announced to the chamber. His voice carried through translation devices to every delegate. "Their folded space drive allows them to cross distances in hours that would take our ships weeks. Their weapons are simple in design but extremely powerful. And most concerning of all, they have achieved all of this in less than 100 of their years." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Korath waited for them to quiet down before continuing. "I have met with their captain. His name is Samuel Price. He is intelligent and calm. He claims that his people come in peace. He claims they want to join our community of civilizations." Delegate Yanara of the Theresian Collective rose from her seat. She was a serpentine creature with 6 arms and scales that shimmered like oil on water. Her voice was a harsh hiss that the translators struggled to process. "This is impossible," she declared. "No species can advance this quickly without help. They must have stolen technology from someone. They must have found an ancient cache of knowledge. There is no other explanation." "We scanned their ship thoroughly," Korath replied. "Everything on board was designed and built by humans. There are no signs of borrowed or stolen technology. Everything matches their design philosophy and manufacturing methods. They created it all themselves." "Then they are dangerous," Yanara insisted. "A species that learns this fast is a threat to everyone. Today, they have 1 ship. Tomorrow, they might have 100. In a century, they might have 1,000. They could overwhelm us all." Delegate Morton of the Kelthran Assembly spoke next. He was a massive quadruped, built like a boulder, with 4 thick legs and a head that seemed too small for his body. His voice was a deep rumble that shook the floor. "I agree with Delegate Yanara. These humans are dangerous. We should destroy them now, while we still can. 1 ship we can handle. A fleet we cannot. You would commit genocide based on what someone might do in the future." This question came from High Arbiter Selen, the leader of the Concord. She was Valorian, like Korath, but much older. Her feathers had long since faded from bright colors to pure white. Her eyes were sharp and clear despite her age. She had led the Concord for over 200 years, and her word was law. Morton shifted his massive weight. "I would protect my people. I would protect all our peoples. The humans are unknown. They are unpredictable. They are too powerful. These are reasons enough. These are reasons to be cautious," Selen corrected him. "They are not reasons for murder. The humans have not attacked anyone. They have not threatened anyone. Their captain has been courteous and reasonable in all his dealings with Admiral Korath. On what grounds would we justify destroying them? On the grounds of survival, Morton growled. Salon's feathers turned a cold shade of gray. Survival against what? Against a species that has done nothing wrong? Against people who have come to us asking for friendship? If we destroy everyone who might someday be a threat, we would have to destroy ourselves. Every species in this chamber has the potential for violence. Every species has weapons. By your logic, we should all be killed. Morton fell silent. He had no answer to that. Delegate Thiessen of the Morvi Union raised one of his many tentacles. The Morvi were aquatic creatures who traveled in water-filled environmental suits when away from their home world. They were known for their careful, thoughtful approach to problems. Perhaps we should learn more before making any decisions, Thiessen suggested. The humans are new to us. We know almost nothing about them. We know nothing about their culture, their values, their history. How can we judge them without understanding them first? That is wise, Selen agreed. I propose that we invite the human captain to address this council directly. Let him speak for his people. Let him answer our questions. Then we can make an informed decision about what to do. And if he lies, Yanara demanded. What if he tells us only what we want to hear? Then we will discover the truth eventually. But we cannot know if someone is lying until we have heard them speak. Selen looked around the chamber. I will meet with the human captain personally. I will assess his intentions. I will determine whether his people can be trusted. Until I have done this, there will be no hostile actions against the humans. Is this understood? No one argued. Selen was the High Arbiter. Her word was final. The meeting continued for several more hours. Delegates argued about trade rights and territorial boundaries and a dozen other concerns. But underneath all the talk, everyone was thinking about the same thing: the humans. The impossible humans who had come from nowhere and changed everything on the Defiant. Captain Price received word of the council meeting. Maria brought him the report on a datapad. He read it slowly, twice, making sure he understood everything. They are divided, Maria observed. Some want to welcome us. Some want to destroy us. That is normal, Price said. Any group of different people will have different opinions. The important thing is that the leader wants to meet with me. That is our opportunity. What will you tell her? The truth. The whole truth. Everything we are and everything we hope to be. Price set down the datapad and looked out the viewport at the distant station of Valoria Prime. Humanity has spent 70 years preparing for this moment. We have practiced our speeches. We have planned our approach. But in the end, it comes down to one thing. We need them to trust us. And the only way to earn trust is to be honest. And if honesty is not enough? Price was quiet for a moment. Then we keep trying. We do not give up. That is what humans do. We face impossible challenges and we find a way through. This is just another challenge. The biggest one yet? Maybe. But not impossible. Never impossible. Maria nodded. She had served with Price long enough to know that he meant every word. He believed in humanity. He believed in their mission. And his belief was contagious. When do we meet with the High Arbiter? She asked. Tomorrow. We need to be ready. They spent the rest of the day preparing. They reviewed files on Valorian culture. They practiced their talking points. They made sure everyone on the command staff knew their role. The meeting with the High Arbiter would determine humanity's future. There was no room for mistakes. As the hours passed, Price found himself thinking about Earth, about the billions of people back home who were waiting to hear how this would turn out. They had sacrificed so much to make this moment possible. They had put aside their differences, their conflicts, their old hatreds. They had worked together as one species for the first time in history. All so that one ship could fly to the stars and say hello. Price would not let them down. He could not let them down. The future of his entire species was riding on what happened next. Tomorrow would decide everything, Captain. Price could not sleep. The meeting with the High Arbiter was scheduled for 8 hours from now, and his mind would not stop racing. He stood in the observation lounge of the Defiant, watching the stars drift past the viewport. The universe was so big, so old, and humanity was so small and so new. How could they possibly convince ancient civilizations to accept them? The door opened behind him. Maria walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She had always been good at knowing when he needed company. "You should be resting," she said, handing him a cup. "I tried. Could not do it." He took a sip of the hot liquid and felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. "I keep thinking about what comes next. If this goes wrong, everything we have worked for is lost. It will not go wrong. You have prepared for this your whole life." "Have I? I am a ship captain, Maria. I know how to navigate star systems and manage a crew. I do not know how to negotiate for an entire species." Maria stood beside him and looked out at the stars. "You know more than you think. You know how to listen. You know how to understand what people need. You know how to find common ground. Those are the skills that matter." Before Price could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridor. Daniel's voice came over the intercom, tight with urgency. "Captain to the bridge. We have incoming hostiles. 3 vessels approaching at attack speed." Price was running before Daniel finished speaking. Maria was right behind him. They reached the bridge in less than a minute. The main screen showed 3 ships closing fast from the direction of Valoria Prime. They were not Valorian. Their design was blocky and heavy, like flying fortresses. "Who are they?" Price demanded, sliding into his command chair. "Kelthran vessels," Daniel reported. "They match the configuration of Delegate Morton's personal fleet." "The one who wanted us destroyed?" Maria said grimly. "They are not waiting for permission anymore." Price studied the tactical display. The Kelthran ships were smaller than the Defiant, but they were heavily armed, and there were 3 of them. Time to weapons range, 90 seconds. Price opened a channel. "Kelthran vessels. This is Captain Price of the Earthship Defiant. Break off your approach immediately. We do not want conflict, but we will defend ourselves." The response came in a harsh, rumbling voice. "Human vessel, you are a threat to galactic peace. The Concord may be too weak to deal with you, but we are not. Prepare to be destroyed." The channel went dead. The Kelthran ships kept coming. "They are not going to stop," Maria said. "No, they are not." Price felt a strange calm settle over him. This was what he understood. This was what he had trained for. Battle was simple. Battle had clear rules. All hands, battle stations. Shields to maximum. Weapons online. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Kevin Brooks, the chief engineer, reported from his station. "Shields at full power, Captain. All systems ready." "Weapons locked on targets," the tactical officer added. Price watched the Kelthran ships grow larger on the screen. 60 seconds to contact. He had to make a decision. He could destroy them easily. The Defiant had enough firepower to turn all 3 ships into dust. But what would that prove? What would that show the galaxy about humanity? "Listen to me carefully," he said to his crew. "We are going to defend ourselves. But we are not going to kill anyone. Target their weapons, systems, and engines only. I want those ships disabled, not destroyed." Maria looked at him. "That is much harder than just blowing them up." "I know. But we are not here to prove that we can kill. We are here to prove that we choose not to." The Kelthran ships opened fire. Missiles streaked through space toward the Defiant. The ship's point defense systems activated automatically, tracking each incoming weapon and destroying it with precise energy bursts. The void lit up with brief flashes of light as missile after missile exploded harmlessly. "Return fire," Price ordered. "Weapons and engines only. Make it clean," Defiant's cannon spoke. They were not the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, but they were accurate. Devastatingly accurate. The first burst hit the lead Kelthran ship exactly where Kevin had aimed it, shearing away its primary weapons array. The second burst targeted its engines, cutting power to the main thrusters. The other two ships tried to break formation, but they were too slow. The Defiant's gunners tracked them with mechanical precision. Within 2 minutes, all 3 Kelthran vessels were drifting helplessly in space. Their weapons were destroyed. Their engines were offline. Their hulls were intact. Their crews were alive. All enemy ships disabled, the tactical officer reported. No casualties detected on their side. Maria let out a breath she did not realize she had been holding. We did it. We actually did it. Price opened a channel to the Kelthran ships. Kelthran vessels, this is Captain Price. Your attack has failed. Your ships are disabled, but your crews are safe. We will not pursue this further. But understand this clearly. The next time you threaten us, we will respond with lethal force. Do not test us again. He closed the channel and turned to Daniel. Get me the High Arbiter. Tell her what happened. Tell her I need to speak with her immediately. The wait felt like forever. Price used the time to check on his crew and his ship. The Defiant had taken no damage. The point defense systems had stopped every missile before it could hit. The shields had not even been tested. It had been a completely one-sided engagement that worried Price more than he wanted to admit. The Kelthran had tried to destroy them. They had failed completely. Now everyone in the galaxy would know how easily the Defiant could defeat multiple attackers. That might make some species more afraid of humanity, not less. The response from High Arbiter Selen came faster than expected. Her face appeared on the main screen, her white feathers bright against the dark background of her chamber. Captain Price, I have received reports of the attack. Are you and your crew unharmed? We are fine, High Arbiter. Our ship took no damage, I see. Selen's expression was difficult to read. You disabled 3 Kelthran warships without killing a single crew member. That is, remarkable. We did not want to kill anyone. We only wanted to defend ourselves. Most species, when attacked, respond with overwhelming force. They destroy their enemies completely. It is the natural response to a threat. Humans are not most species, Price said. We believe that strength means nothing if you cannot control it. Anyone can destroy. It takes discipline to show mercy. Selen was quiet for a long moment. Her feathers shifted through several colors that Price could not interpret. Finally, she spoke again. Captain Price, I believe our meeting cannot wait until tomorrow. I am coming to your ship now. There is much we need to discuss. You're welcome aboard the Defiant, High Arbiter. We will prepare to receive you. The screen went dark. Price slumped back in his chair. The adrenaline was fading, leaving him tired and drained. But there was no time to rest. The most important meeting of his life was about to happen. Maria, Kevin, meet me in the main conference room. We need to be ready when the High Arbiter arrives. What about the Kelthran ships? Maria asked. Should we leave them drifting out there? Price considered the question. The Kelthran had tried to kill them. They deserved to be left stranded in space. But that was not the message Price wanted to send. Send a repair team to help them get their engines back online. Nothing more. Just enough to get them home. Maria stared at him. You want us to help the people who just tried to murder us? I want us to show the galaxy what humans are really like. We do not abandon people, even people who hurt us. That is who we are. That is who we have always been. Maria shook her head slowly, but she was smiling. You are either the wisest man I have ever met, or the craziest. Probably both, Price admitted. Now let us go meet the High Arbiter. We have a future to build. High Arbiter Selen arrived on the Defiant 6 hours after the battle. She came with a small group of Concord officials, including Admiral Korath. They were escorted through the ship's corridors by Maria, who pointed out various features along the way. The aliens looked at everything with a mixture of curiosity and caution. The main conference room has been prepared for the meeting. Captain Price waited there with his senior staff. Dr. Lisa Graham, the medical officer, stood near the wall with her data pad ready. Kevin Brooks had cleaned up after the battle and put on his dress uniform. Even Daniel Reyes was there, young and nervous but determined to witness history. Selen entered the room and stopped just inside the door. Her white feathers seemed to glow in the soft lighting. Her eyes moved slowly across the humans, studying each one in turn. Finally, her gaze settled on Price. "Captain Price," she said. "Thank you for receiving us. Thank you for coming, High Arbiter. Please, sit down. We have much to discuss." They took their seats across from each other at the long table. The air was thick with tension. Everyone knew how important this moment was. "I will speak directly," Selen began. "The attack by the Kelthran vessels has changed things. Delegate Morton acted without Concord approval. He violated our laws and endangered our relationship with your people. He will face consequences for this." "We are not seeking revenge," Price said. "We defended ourselves. That is enough." "Is it?" "Most species would demand justice. Most species would want the Kelthran punished severely. Humans have learned that revenge does not bring peace. It only creates more conflict. We would rather move forward than look back." Selen's feathers shifted to a pale blue. Korath had told Price that this color meant surprise or admiration. He hoped it was the second one. "You showed remarkable restraint during the battle," Selen continued. "You could have destroyed those ships easily. Your weapons are powerful enough to devastate entire fleets. Yet you chose to disable them without killing anyone. Why? Because killing was not necessary. Our goal was to stop the attack, not to punish the attackers. Once their weapons were disabled, they were no longer a threat. There was no reason to take their lives. But they would have taken yours. They had no interest in mercy. Their choices do not control ours. We decide who we want to be. We decide what kind of species humanity will become. And we have decided to be builders, not destroyers." The room fell silent. Selen seemed to be processing his words. The other Concord officials exchanged glances that Price could not interpret. "Tell me about your people," Selen said finally. "Tell me about humanity. Not your technology or your weapons. Tell me who you are." Price had prepared for this question. He had practiced his answer 100 times. But now, sitting across from the leader of a galactic civilization, all his prepared words seemed wrong. He decided to speak from the heart instead. "Humans are complicated," he said. "We are capable of terrible things: war, cruelty, destruction. Our history is full of darkness. We have hurt each other in ways that are difficult to describe." "Hey, this does not sound like a reason to trust you," Korath observed. "I am not finished. We are also capable of incredible kindness, love, sacrifice. We build hospitals to heal the sick. We create art that moves people to tears. We risk our own lives to save strangers. The same species that invented weapons of mass destruction also invented medicine that saves millions of lives." Price leaned forward, his eyes meeting Selen's directly. "We are not perfect. We never will be. But we are always trying to be better. Every generation learns from the mistakes of the ones before. Every century, we become a little kinder, a little wiser, a little more united. It is slow progress, but it is progress." 70 years ago, you were fighting wars among yourselves," Selen said. "Your planet was divided into hostile nations." "That is true. And then we learned that we were not alone in the universe. That knowledge changed everything. Suddenly, our differences seemed small. Our conflicts seemed pointless. We realized that we needed to stand together, or we would fall apart. So we chose to stand together." Dr. Graham stepped forward. "If I may add something, High Arbiter?" Selen nodded.
I
am a doctor. My job is to heal people. When we were preparing for this mission, we studied every piece of information we could find about alien species. We wanted to understand your biology, your diseases, your medical needs. Not so we could create weapons against you, but so we could help you if needed." She activated her datapad and projected a holographic display. "We noticed that the Valorian genome has a weakness. Your cells break down over time in a specific way. It is similar to conditions we have seen in humans. We have developed treatments that could slow this process significantly. We believe we could extend Valorian lifespans by several centuries." Selen's feathers changed to a deep gold color. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You would share this with us?" "We would share it freely," Price said. "Knowledge is meant to be shared. Medicine is meant to heal everyone, not just those who create it. We have other technologies too. agricultural methods that could help feed hungry worlds, energy systems that are cleaner and more efficient, educational tools that could help young people learn faster. We brought all of this with us because we hope to find friends who would value it. You expect nothing in return? We expect friendship, partnership, a chance to learn from you as you learn from us. We have been alone for a very long time, High Arbiter. We are tired of being alone. Selen was quiet for a long moment. The gold color in her feathers slowly spread until she was glowing like a small sun. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. In 200 years of leading the Concord, I have met many species. Some were peaceful. Some were warlike. Some were wise. Some were foolish. But I have never met anyone like you. She stood up from her chair. The other officials stood with her. Price and his crew rose as well, uncertain what was happening. Captain Samuel Price of the Earth vessel Defiant, Selen said formally. On behalf of the Galactic Concord, I welcome humanity to the community of civilized species. You will be granted full membership, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Your people have earned their place among the stars. Price felt his heart swell with emotion. He blinked hard, refusing to let tears fall in front of the alien leaders. Thank you, High Arbiter. Humanity will not let you down. Selen extended her hand. It was a human gesture of friendship. She had learned it just for this moment. Price took her hand and shook it gently. Thank you for giving us a chance. Thank you for showing us what is possible. A species that goes from mud houses to starships in less than a century. A species that shows mercy to its enemies. A species that wants to give more than it takes. Perhaps you will teach the rest of us how to be better too. The meeting continued for several more hours. They discussed treaties and trade agreements. They planned future diplomatic exchanges. They talked about the challenges ahead and how to face them together. When the Concord delegation finally departed, Price walked to the observation lounge. Maria found him there, standing alone and watching the stars. We did it, she said softly. We did. But this is only the beginning. The real work starts now. What kind of work? The work of being good neighbors. Of proving that we deserve the trust they have given us. Of building a future that our children and grandchildren will be proud of. Maria stood beside him. Outside the viewport, the station of Valoria Prime glittered with lights. Somewhere out there, a galaxy full of civilizations was waiting to meet humanity. Are you ready for that? She asked. Price smiled. For the first time in weeks, he felt genuinely hopeful. I have been ready my whole life. We all have. Every human who ever looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. Every dreamer who imagined a future beyond our small planet. This is what we were born for. He turned away from the viewport. Come on. We have a lot of work to do. They walked back to the bridge together. The Defiant hummed with power and purpose, and out among the stars, humanity had finally found its place. The journey was far from over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But for the first time in history, humans were not facing the universe alone. They had friends now. They had allies. They had a seat at the table, and they intended to make the most of it.